Hello and welcome to the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. We're here today for the top 16 superstars. In action today we have the Oceania Region. We're looking at the Nations Cup. First up, my name is Tom Brooks, alongside me, Jimmy Broadbent here to guide you through the action. Jimmy, Nürburgring GP circuit in Pagani Zondas. That's a tricky prospect for these drivers.
Bit of a treat really, I think. That Zonda's a ton of fun, 700 plus horsepower, rear-wheel drive, and fits into the Group X category because it doesn't really fit anywhere else. And not quite alongside you, Tom. I'm waving at you from the other side of the studio now because of course the social distancing rules, but it's great to be back here regardless. I'm looking forward to this one. I drove the Zonda a bit earlier on with my mate Carlos, and it was a tricky thing to get round there, so I'm looking forward to seeing how guys who are actually good can do it.
Well, you can see these drivers have got 15 laps to battle over, 2 times fuel consumption, 3 times tyre wear, rolling starts for these drivers. The penalty zone, as you can see, coming out of turn 6 down in towards the hairpin of turn number 7. Anyway, the drivers have all qualified. Let's head over to the grid, see who lines up where, and see what happens in the race. Over then to the grid in the Pagani Zonda Rs. 2009, of course, that these cars came out. It's Cody Nikolakowski who lines up on pole position. Alongside him on the front row of the grid is Daniel Lindgren. He's been pretty quick as of late. Keep an eye out, see what he is going to be able to do. Matt McEwen heads the second row of the grid in 3rd position. And P4 is Dan Holland, again another driver who has been on top form as of late. P5, Emily Jones, she'll be hoping for a bit of redemption after a tricky time, I think it's fair to say, last time out, with Lee alongside her. Andrew Lee there in 6th position. P7, Nicholas Voon in the very distinctive white and pink machine. Kanda lines up in 8th position there as well. 10th place, Jonathan Stankowski. What's he going to be able to do from the lower half of the top 10? Gopi Mahindajin lines up alongside. Difficult qualifying there clearly for Gopi down in P10. Work to do for him. Alan lines up in 11th position, the first of the drivers outside of that top 10, with Fowles alongside him. 13th position, that's Leith. And alongside him is Knowles there, Connor Knowles. Campbell Knowles, I apologise, rather, in P14. And the final row of the grid, Alex Little rather in 15th position. And 16th is Edwards, the final position on the grid. What are we expecting down to turn 1 here, Jimmy? What do you think about the tyre choice with the medium and the softs available for these drivers?
Well, really, T1 isn't going to be that badly affected by the tyres, shall we say. It's just a straight sprint down to a hairpin. So, great place to, if you fancy sending it on lap 1, but of course 15-lap race here. And if you end up going a little bit too deep, you might end up collecting some of the drivers in front of you, which gives you a slap on the wrist from our penalty system, of course. We've got our top 5 drivers opting for that soft compounded tyres. They're going to try and break away, you imagine, from the start there. And as we tend to see in these races, those at the top end of the grid want to try and get away as quick as possible. So we've got Cody Nikolakowski. He's going to lead us away. Of course, needs no introduction, does Cody. One of the fastest guys in the region. He'll be looking just to try and make people disappear in his rearview mirror as quick as possible. But Mr. Lindgren and McEwen and Holland behind, I'm sure will have something to say about that. Coming around then, the last corner, getting ready to start this 15-lap race here at the Nürburgring.
Kodalikowski leads the field then out of the final turn, ready to come over the timing line. 15 laps at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, ready to go racing here for the Nations Cup of the Oceania Series of the top 16 superstars. You can see the lights illuminated as we go green and go racing here for the Oceania Region. Kodalikowski leads the field over the timing line. Everybody darting into the slipstream to try and catch up with their fellow competitors. Somebody going well out wide in the background. Maybe they lit up their rear tyres. Speaking of tyres, everybody trying to warm up their tyres down into T1, but Lukowski holds on to the race lead for now, doesn't overshoot his braking zone, which is so easy to do coming through those first couple of corners. Lindgren, though, is keeping him honest in these opening few stages, so let's keep an eye out and see what will happen. But a nice clean start there from all of those drivers. That's pretty crucial here, Jimmy.
Yeah, not much you can really do in the first sector on this first lap. They've all got the soft compounded tyres, so the cars feel quite similar for each one of the drivers here at the moment. So really just about getting through there in one piece, and then maybe trying to line something up a bit later on in the lap. A couple of penalties there in the background as well. Of course, Lee in 6th place is our first person on that medium compounded tyre. There's Cody, there's Lindgren, there's McEwen. We come now down to the hairpin. There's Emily Jones in the mint-coloured Zonda, which gets a big thumbs up from me. Nice livery there, Not quite close enough to have a go on Dan Holland in front there, although Dan Holland's done what I did earlier when driving around here. Went very, very wide down there. This car likes to understeer big time. If if you're too enthusiastic on the way into a corner, then of course to compensate for that, you tend to smash the front one on the way out, which gives you a handful of oversteer. So a car that definitely needs a lot of balance when driving it.
Yeah, I think finesse is going to be pretty crucial here for these drivers, not lining up those rear tyres. A huge amount of power going through those rear wheels. You can see Kodiakowski just taking a bit of grass going through the right-hander. So now this is one of the prime overtaking opportunities, heading in towards its final chicane, getting a good run out of the right-hander which precedes it, following them through this, not really a straight because there's a right-handed kink, and then going into this chicane is a great place to try and dive up the inside. Kodiakowski coming through to finish the first lap, holds on to the lead, but he hasn't been able to pull out an advantage over Lindgren in this opening lap here. So let's see what is going to happen. Those two, a little bit of daylight between themselves, and Matt McEwen there in third position as Lee Stankowski, and I imagine probably the remainder of these medium runners are going to come into the pit lane here, get off of those as soon as they can.
Yeah, I think that's the way of things. We tend to see any tyre that isn't the soft tyre is, just chuck that in the bin, get on the soft as quick as you can, and use the pace from there. You can see the understeer there, the front wheels turned in, but unfortunately not much grip to be had. Cody there starting to pull away though, but I think Greg going with. Here is the second little pack here with McEwen Holland and Emily Jones in fifth position there, and quite a quiet start really. I say quiet, of course, contextually. These V12 Zondas are anything but on board now with that awesome interior of this thing. It's the rev counter, I don't know if you can see, is on the steering wheel right in the centre where you smash the horn. So don't be hitting that if you're getting angry.
These drivers, of course, having to put in a fair amount of practice. A little bit wide there in the foreground, I think, for Matt McEwen in third position. Dan Holland very close behind and keeping him pretty honest. But this car, of course, as I was alluding to earlier on, designed back in 2009, sits within the Group X category on GT Sport. And just to remind the viewers here, Jimmy, what is the Group X category on GT Sport?
The Group X category is basically when we go, well, we don't know where that car belongs, we'll chuck it in Group X. It's not an LMP1 car, it's not a Group 2, not a Group 3 car, it's something entirely different. So it goes into that category. I mean, that category isn't based on things like power, because there are electric cars in there as well, so like with less than 50 horsepower sort of thing. So basically it's its own thing, and the only way to really race it fairly is against the version of the Zonda R. And I've got to say, the car doesn't look like it's from 2009 or whatever it's from. It looks a lot more modern still. I love the styling of this thing, it's so cool.
They don't make them like that anymore. Well, they do in some respects, but this was a car, of course, designed with no regulations in mind. It doesn't, as Jimmy said, conform to LMP1 or LMP2 or anything along the lines of that, really. It just conforms to whatever on earth Pagani wanted it to conform to. And that is a car that, again, doesn't really fit in any bracket. You couldn't take it racing if you bought one in the real world. You just turned up to a track and hoped that they didn't have any noise limits.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, wasn't it? Like, this is only run at certain tracks because it was so loud. So I think it was said very well by, I think it was Jeremy Clarkson, who said that you can buy it, but you can't drive it. you can just look at it. But great thing about GTs, you can go drive it whenever you like.
Yeah, that's true. No noise curfews here, thankfully. And Dan Holland doing a good job there, just in fourth position. So all the drivers you can now see on the soft compound of tyre. I'm interested to see what the strategy is going to be here, Jimmy. Do we think drivers are going to go for 2 stops or 3 stops here? Because the ones who've got on the medium tyres early, they're going to have to do a very long stint on the soft tyres if they're going to make them run to the end.
Well, you tend to see the guys, especially if they're swapping off on the first lap, that usually means more stops. So probably a 3-stop minimum, I'd imagine here. Getting the most out of that soft compound of tyre. This is a car that really benefits from a softer tyre compound. Again, in my limited running earlier on, between the hard and the soft, the difference is night and day. So it's just worth getting off it as quick as you can and making that extra pit stop. Going all Alain Prost style, stop 7 times or so. Was it 7 times at Donington?
Something like that. Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
And then still finish the race in second place. So that's sort of the vibe here. So you've got to do things, and it does mean, though, we don't really know what's going on properly until we get to the last few laps, which keeps things interesting, I guess.
Well, that is the advantage there, isn't it? And I have to say, I apologise, by the way, because I think it's going to be a 1 or a 2 stop strategy here. I think 3 stops, given the duration of this race being 15 laps, it's probably going to be a little bit far-fetched. Meanwhile, we're running on board here with Lee in 9th position. Doing a good job here so far is Andrew. Just going through that final corner. Alan just in front of him there. Lee, of course, has made that stop. He's on a lap newer of these softer compound of tyres. Now, of course, Jimmy, given every car is identical in every way, shape or form, what does that mean in terms of the racing? Should we expect it to be closer, a bit further away? Does it make things more difficult? Does it make it more difficult to get past your competitor? More easy? How does it affect things?
I think it just means it's based purely on driver skill, you know. So if you beat someone in this race, you go, oh, I beat you because I was better than you in that case. So it's a bit of a bragging right thing for the drivers. In terms of the actual racing itself, it means that we could probably get to see some lunges every now and then, because the car's being similar in a straight line, meaning that you're going to have to get deep into a toe and just kind of send it into a braking zone and hope the guy behind sees you, because you aren't going to be improving through the corner unless you're Cody and just driving away from the rest of the field here. But that is the difference a good driver makes. 2.5 seconds now on Lindgren behind, exact same machinery. I mean, you can't argue that.
No, Cody's been very quick here so far. We've hardly really mentioned him over the course of this one. We're 4 laps in, as you said, Jimmy. He's pulled a 2.6 second advantage over Lindgren. 1 minute 50.232 was Cody's fastest lap last time around. Lindgren a 150.969. So that's a hell of an advantage to pull out in identical cars. He is really stretching that. Speaking of stretching, here comes Lee, who's about to have a little look, maybe, up the inside of Alan. Not quite close enough to make a move there on Matthew, but ready to go into the next right-hander. Bit of a lunge into there. Holds it firm, side by side they come on corner exit. Alan's on the curb and he's lost position. Lee is through into 8th place.
Yeah, nicely. I think that Alan didn't really see that coming. He seemed to turn in like Lee wasn't there for a second, then gave him the space once he realised. But got to be careful around here. As you said, you've got to really take every opportunity, and here is an opportunity. Here's Voon up the inside of Kanda. Thank you very much, son, he says. Up to P6 he goes, and that's just getting a bad exit there off the chicane. And corner exit in these cars really, really important. So if you end up making mistakes like that, and the guy behind is going to try and capitalise. But of course now, big toe down the base road. Will Kanda have a look back at the inside? No, it stays there for now. So Voon up to P6. Very nice indeed. Lovely
driving there for Nicholas Voon. Paul Kanda moves down into 7th position. Meanwhile, Kodlikowski increases his advantage to 3.3 seconds out in front in this race. Everybody else keeping themselves at a relatively steady gap, I think it's fair to say. Just taking it easy here so far, and that's kind of what we're expecting to see, as it'll get quite exciting to the closing stages of this one as the strategies and so on begin to work themselves out. Now, what do we think about Matt McEwen? Running on board with him here in P3, Jimmy. He's had some good results, I think it's fair to say, in the top 16 Superstars. I mean, to even get here, that's a heck of a result within itself. If we look at his World Tour stats, with his Gran Turismo Championship stats, he's done 144 races, 48 wins. So, you know, it's hugely impressive. Sorry, 212 races, 48 wins, I should say, rather. Hugely impressive stats, but doesn't quite seem to have the pace to battle with the likes of Lindgren in P2 there.
I mean, he's hanging on nicely at the moment. It's more that Cody is the one they've all got to beat at this point. Everyone else in this kind of top 5 seems to be fairly equal, you know. Even Emily Jones in the back there, who actually has been kind of just steadily improving as time has gone on. She definitely seems to favour the cars of a bit more downforce, so I'd say, compared to the rest. But to go back to McEwen here, yeah, doing all right. You know, like a podium at this level is nothing to be ashamed of, especially when you're being Dan Holland, who's been very quick recently as well. But it just seems the different circumstances, different tracks, different cars suit different people. And McEwen seems to be a bit of a jack of all trades, but master of none yet. So maybe something to improve on there.
A bit of a penalty there for Emily Jones in the background, presumably for track limits. That's a 1 second penalty that she has in P5. Did you see that with the red dot flashing next to her name? That penalty zone, as we said, coming out of turn 6 down into turn 7 at the very bottom of your track map there. So she'll serve that on this lap. And this is the interesting thing, isn't it, Jimmy, about these cars, of course, and the specific thing about Gran Turismo Sport in particular is that you are able to drive different machinery, unlike, you know, a lot of other drivers will either be in GT3, GT4 cars or whatever it might be, but they don't chop and change as much as this. So you kind of have to be quite adaptable in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one week we're driving Zondas, next week the guys over at Polyphony are laughing and putting these guys in drift cars. So, you know, there is it's a bit of a challenge, definitely, but I like that too. It's one of the really cool things about sim racing is you can jump between disciplines. You aren't stuck with a team doing one thing for a year. You can drive every manner of car there. You're just seeing the background of penalty zone coming into effect. I've got to say, it's horrible going through those things. And the auto brake comes on and you just see the guys in front just disappear, and that's the end of them. And it's I've got to say, Emily, bit of a habit of her picking up penalties recently. At Le Mans, last time we saw her out there, I think she picked up about 3 or 4 in that race, ruined the race for her here. Same thing here, so maybe just a little bit needs to iron out those mistakes, I think.
Yeah, mistakes can be very crucial, and the thing is as well with the penalties is, okay, it's a second of a penalty, but you don't just lose that, you lose the time, of course, with the speed difference that you then have once you get back into racing conditions, so it's not an easy thing to have to deal with, and as you can see, Emily Jones has dropped right back now, nearly 2 seconds behind this trio of cars squabbling for P2. at the moment. So it has cost Emily Jones a little bit dearer here so far, but let's see what is going to happen. If these guys start squabbling, it might allow her an opportunity to close up. Just coming out of the final corner, ready to start the 7th lap, so nearer the halfway stage than we were for these guys at the moment. Here is Dan Holland, who's been in 4th position, had that incredible lunge in one of the top 16 Superstars races earlier on in the year, and had me shouting my lungs off, thinking that he was never going to make the corner, and somehow he managed to, and make the move stick as well. It was just amazing. But Dan has been a really impressive driver, I think it's fair to say, within these top 16 Superstars races. I think he's a little bit controversial amongst some of these other Oceania competitors for one reason or another, but I'm quite impressed with how he's conducted himself, at least within this race.
Yeah, come on, Dan, mate. We want to see, you know, a Class 1 set going down there to the hairpin at Dunmont, mate. That would be fantastic. He's thinking about it, though. Look at him. He's sort of showing his nose every now and then. That's sort of part of the battle when you're in a little group like this. Just you see there a bit of a flash of the lights from McEwen. It's just saying, hey, look, I'm behind you, guys, me, and trying to distract the guy in front of you to take that look into his mirror. Maybe misses braking zone, maybe misses the apex, and then they gets back involved again. You can see these guys are kind of fighting a bit, and it's slowing them up a little bit because Emily's coming back into the fray now, even after that penalty. And it just means that we're now going to have a four-way battle for second place. Lindgren at the helm still, McEwen third, Holland fourth. They just don't seem to be able to pass, though. It seems maybe a little bit of dirty air coming into play. I mean, these things do have the equivalent of a park bench strapped to the back of them there, generating a ton of downforce. Probably about a ton of downforce, the whole car taken into account there. So the best place you can really get someone is in these heavy braking zones here, but just not quite close enough.
No, air resistance is a hugely interesting thing as well. Of course, the faster you go, the more the air resistance gets to you. If you go, oh, hello there, Dan Lindgren, coming back to that, makes a bit of a mistake coming out of the chicane. Is he going to go into the pit lane? I think he is, and that's going to allow Matt McEwen and Dan Holland to come through, as Emily Jones also coming into the pit lane there as well, so they're going onto the medium compactive tyres for their stop. Now, are they going to run those for a little bit of time, or are they going to do one lap and come straight in and get on the softs again? I wonder.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I reckon if it's it's required to run the medium and the soft in this one, isn't it? So it would just be get rid of the medium as soon as you can. I think that would be the game. It's the way things are in GT right now with how the tyres work. It's just not worth being on anything other than the soft tyre, even if it's mandatory to be on the others. So it's just come in the pits, get rid of that other tyre, and hope for the best there, really. But I tell you what, though, if they're doing that now, and the others still owe a medium compounded tyre, it's hard to say. I don't think that even on a fresh set of mediums you'll get the undercut. I think it's still slower.
Yeah, there is definitely a pace disparity between them, and we could see that. I know we only saw them for one lap, but just how much those medium runners drop back in the opening lap of this race. So let's keep an eye out, see how it all plays out. Matt McEwen just missing the apex by a country mile into the hairpin there. Dan Holland still keeping very honest behind. Interestingly, those guys not running unique liveries, as I think it's fair to say that we have seen within the Oceania region. I'm looking at particularly at Cy Bishop from last time, which is nice to see because our faces aren't adorning these cars as they were when we were commentating on these guys racing. But let's see what happens in this race then. Are McEwen and Holland going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap? Are they going to go for a little bit longer? Maybe they're more comfortable with those softer compactive tyres. Of course, as we know, the tyre wear multiplier means that it's essentially one lap is the equivalent of 5 here, so they are wearing out that a little bit quicker, and these tyres will be coming towards the end of their useful shelf life before too long.
We'll see. Maybe we might see them try and take it to the end. I think that the two strategies here are, and apologies, earlier I said free stop, I kind of meant to say two, whereas you come in, take a soft compounded tyre, take a medium compound, then go back to soft. I think some people are going to try and go for just the, and then you go, there's people coming in again for that soft compounded tyre. And some people are going to try and make that initial first tyre last a bit longer and then go to the end on the medium. So we'll see which one wins out, really. I mean, this is the cool thing about these races is that these guys will have practiced this probably. They probably would have done a couple of race runs where that's basically them in the practice session on their own, running 15 laps with a stopwatch and going, right, was that quicker? Was that slower? What I did with that tyre strategy? Someone I can pretty much guarantee you has done that is this man here, Cody Nikolakowski. Now please bear in mind, same car, same tyres, same conditions for every driver. He has pulled 8 seconds on McEwen behind over the course of 9 laps.
It's an unstoppable force, isn't he, Cody Lukovski? It's unbelievable. I mean, you only have to look at his stats. Out of the 867 races that he has competed in the FIA Gran Turismo Championships, whether that's the online season, whether it's World Tour events.
Just 800.
Just the 800, of course, which is an impressive statistic in itself. He's won 418 of them.
Oh my word.
It's unbelievable. He's had 739 top 5 finishes out of 867 races. How do you do that? I can't believe that statistic.
I mean, yeah, there you go. I mean, I don't think I've even done half of those races. I definitely haven't been in the top 5 for that many in my time. But yeah, so Cody's just unstoppable force, man. Faster and faster every time we see him. Gap now 8 seconds. And I mean, you got to think, if you're Cody, right, and you're out there just 8 seconds on your own little race, what do? You know, you just pick up your phone, start texting your mates, you know, whatever. Get
yourself, I don't know, on Tinder, start swiping or something like that.
I'm not sure.
It's possible.
I don't know, maybe he does.
Maybe he does. I mean, that's going to be the blooper reel, isn't it? I can tell. Well, Cody Lukovski doing a good job of increasing that advantage, perhaps not on Tinder at the moment. 8.3 seconds he is, and he's still lapping consistently faster. His last lap was nearly 0.4 of a second, over 0.4 of a second quicker than Matt McEwen in second place.
Yeah, he's just cruising. He gets into this sort of this vibe where he is, and he's just unstoppable. No one can touch him. It's great for him. So it means really, realistically, everyone's fighting for second place. And here is that fight, McEwen, Holland. Still going at it. Holland now up to P3. Of course, we had Lindgren come into the pit lane to get rid of those tyres earlier on. But now, this is interesting because he's taken that 2 stops. It looks like he's going with that strategy now and going those soft tyres till the end. The guys in front are going to come in for the mediums, maybe in a lap or so's time, and then it'll be a straight fight to the end between the two. But they would have done 1 less pit stop, which means about 6-7 seconds less time spent stationary. So that might be enough to keep them ahead for the end of the race. But coming into the last part of the race now, 10 laps down, Lindgren 4th at the moment. Emily Jones is behind us. Leading still is Cody Lukovski.
Bit of a thinking man's race, this one, isn't it? Not necessarily that action-packed in terms of on-track overtakes and dive bombs and drama and so on and so forth, but still, there's a lot to think about in terms of this strategy, and I think it's going to get quite exciting towards the end of this one. Here's Nicolas Foon, who has made that pit stop. He's made 2 stops now in this race on the soft tyres to the very end of this one. Gopi Mahindajit, who's in the forefront of your shot, and Paul Kanda as well have also made 2 stops, so this is a 3-way scrap essentially for position. Kanda looking a little bit slower and a little bit more sluggish compared to Mahindajit, who for some reason or another is not right at the sharp end as your race leader Cody Lukovski comes into the pit lane. He'll be taking a bit of fuel on board, I imagine, as well as some tyres. Only 13 litres left, so yeah, a bit more fuel going in. He goes on to the mediums, and surely that's going to be it before the end of this race. Dan Holland also doing exactly the same strategy as Matt McEwen, interestingly, decides to continue on that soft tyre here. So a different call here from the Kiwi.
Don't know if that's going to work out for him. There is our leader, Cody, or who will be our leader after McEwen takes the pit stop. You see, that's the gap there. Even after a pit stop and the fuel, big chunk of fuel going in the car, Cody only just comes out behind McEwen there. So I think this isn't. We'll see if this is the right call or not. We'll see if that soft tyre still has any life in it at this point. Well, we're going to get a good indication now of a fresh medium versus a worn soft. Here we are on board there with Cody. Getting nice and easy into these corners through here. This car has a little bit less downforce than you think it does. You kind of think, oh man, look at this thing, it's a weapon. And you turn into a corner and go, oh, that's a big chunk of understeer. So you've got to be careful with it, but doesn't seem to be phased with the fact McEwen's ahead of him. You think he'll know right now that he's got to make a pit stop. So he's just driving just to keep position for now, just to keep the car going.
Well, we can look to see Cody Lukovski's driving style on board here. We're used to seeing him being very aggressive, but look how smooth he's been with this wheel. Just one simple turn, like a spoon through treacle at the moment here for Lukovski. Would you say this car rewards the smoother driving style?
You spoon treacle off on top?
It's a regular occurrence, you know.
Goes home.
It is. Go home, spoon through treacle, smooth as you like.
What are you doing this evening, Tom?
Knife through butter, mate.
Treacle.
Yeah.
No, to answer your question, it's a bit of old Jensen Button. Just that one turn in, one turn out. Some say that being smooth is fast, others will saw the wheel and do the same lap time, but different strokes, different folks, as they say. So I think that he's if he's happy with it, it's good and it looks good as well. So, but smoothness obviously paying dividends here, given that he has an easy lead as McEwen comes in for his mandatory pit stop.
So into the pit lane then, 4 litres of fuel. He had to come in, really, didn't he? He was never going to complete another lap with that amount of fuel on board. These cars are pretty heavy on it at the best of times. Onto the medium tyres. He's going to have to take some more juice. Where is he going to emerge, though? That is a crucial question. Dan Holland and Dan Lindgren have also, of course, made their pit stops. Is he going to be able to come out ahead, or is he going to come out behind? Let's see what happens. He's in P2. Here comes Dan Holland, but he's going to have the overspeed down into the braking zone of T1. He's going to have more up-to-heat tyres as well. Bit of a slide there for McEwen. Is that going to potentially cost him, with Holland on the inside, not quite close enough to find his way through there? So McEwen does live to fight another day. Well, he's won the battle, but he might not have won the war here, because I'm interested to see how Holland is going to be able to attack as this lap continues on.
That's nice there, and of course you see Lindgren is the one that kind of lost out there a bit. He has got that soft tyre now, so maybe he'll be able to get back into this fight. You see Dan Holland behind, I think, is a little bit frustrated to come out behind McEwen here. We know that Holland can be quite aggressive when he wants to be. So we'll see what he does here. He's a bit too far back for the Holland lunge, as we're going to now, I think, dub it. But yeah, he tries it anyway. Look how much closer he gets. But of course, as a result, just puts himself wide at the hairpin. So you can be patient here, Dan, mate. I reckon you've got the pace. Don't be sending it in too aggressively too fast, or you're going to just lose time instead of actually pose some sort of threat.
There's a lot of pressure on him at the moment here to try and perform, and to try and get that top result here as well. Of course, it'll all be crucial for the standings. Look how much more closing speed he's got under braking, but that is getting cost him. And as you said, Jimmy, patience is going to be key here, and he's not being patient at the moment. He's putting himself under a lot of pressure, trying to put a lot of pressure in turn under McEwen, but forcing himself into mistakes more than anything.
I think he knows as well that behind him, very close, is that man there, Lindgren, who's on the soft compound tyre. I think he was trying to get ahead of McEwen to put a car between him and Lindgren and maybe try and get away a little bit. But as it stands now, he is the first victim, so to speak, of the Australian driver here on the soft compound tyres. Though he doesn't seem to be really gaining that much in the corners, despite having the tyre advantage.
So riding on board then, lap 13 we are, already into the very much closing stages of this race for round 16 of the top 16 superstars then. Hard on the race we go, down into T1. This battle for second place still continues on with these drivers. Very exciting to see how it's all going to play out. Lindgren, of course, started this race in second position, so he'll at least want to try and finish there. But he's got these two medium shod runners in front of him to dispose of first of all through the long left-hander. Seems like an age before you can get on the throttle, before you flick it right, and then do eventually get on the power, albeit briefly, as you head into the next left-hander, which does follow. But Dan Lindgren here, very much in the pound seats, but it's quite a tricky track to find your way past. As you saw here a few moments ago, you've got to be quite patient, otherwise you can cost yourself more time than you can gain.
Let's see what Lindgren does here, because he's got a bit of a toe down the straight. He had a better exit, but not quite getting the rate he wants. This is where the soft tyre really gives you the advantage in the braking zone and just in heavy traction zones like here, like coming out of a hairpin. But you know, Holland's doing a good enough job of keeping ahead, and all he's got to do is keep that a little bit of a gap for a couple more laps, and that'll be a podium secured for him. But it is going to be a fight for second, I think, if Lindgren can get by Holland. But otherwise, it's these three on the screen: Holland, Lindgren, and McEwen just ahead of us right now. Emily Jones is there. There she is in the background, being followed by Lee as well, but not quite close enough to challenge this group for now. As we come on to the back straight, Lindgren is running out of time now.
So then, in towards that chicane we're about to head then. Lindgren, as you said, Jimmy, needs to pull his finger out really and try and make a move before too long, but try and do it pretty quickly and pretty successfully so he doesn't lose touch with Matt McEwen in front. Is this the opportunity for Lindgren? Has a bit of a look into the final corner. Dan Holland firmly shuts the door, but that's going to compromise his exit speed. Lindgren in turn though gets a bit of a tank slapper on coming out of that corner, has to dart back into the slipstream then coming down this straight. Is he going to think about a move into T1? He's got the advantage of the slipstream, but will Lindgren be able to make a move? Pulls out, pulls back in, can't quite make it stick as Holland goes defensive, but he in turn runs it a little bit deep there. So Holland has now compromised his run coming out of turn 1 into turn 2. So it's a bit of cat and mouse this really. A bit of tit for tat going on between these drivers, but nothing really effective being done.
He could have made that move quite easily there, Lindgren, but he just outbraked himself on the T1. He forced Holland into a mistake and then made the mistake as well and couldn't get the exit. Otherwise that would have been quite an easy pass, I think. And now he finds himself behind Holland again, coming into this left-right here. Very difficult to pass here, even if you're very close. So really all the Lindgren can really do is pressure Holland, hope he makes another mistake and then try and get through. Otherwise it looks like Holland might be able to defend this.
Running on board here with Dan Holland then down in towards the braking zone of the hairpin then. A little bit wide there once again for Dan Holland, clearly struggling with grip against the soft shod Lindgren. Look in the background there as well. Emily Jones, Andrew Lee looking very close to one another for P5 and P6 in this race, but all eyes very much on this battle for the podium positions. There is Matt McEwen, just a bit of daylight between himself and Dan Holland now. That could be potentially the possibility for second over and done with here for Lindgren. We'll wait and see what happens, but there's only a lap and a little bit left to go here, so it's now or never really for Lindgren. He needs to get an absolute stonker of an exit out of that final corner to dispose of Dan Holland if he's going to have any chance of even getting close to attacking McEwen.
I say what, McEwen sort of owes Lindgren a pint now, I think, or something like that, because Lindgren has held up Holland and they've fought a little bit, and that's slowed up Holland considerably, which means he's been given that gap, that little bit of a breathing room that we see there on the screen, because Holland was all over the back of him when he came up the pit lane. So I guess there's a little bit of thanks for Lindgren from McEwen, but we come on to the last lap now. This is realistically the last chance for Lindgren to have a big lunge here. He's too far back. Holland, if anything, has actually now gained on McEwen, now that I've mentioned that, of course. Come through the stadium section. This is where the front tyres on your car are really going to start screaming at you if they're feeling worn, especially this left hand here, one of the slowest corners in the circuit. It's very difficult. That right front tyre takes an absolute beating through there. Holland is sideways, just trying to get the car turned in, trying to get it a bit close to McEwen in front. They'll go a little bit wide next. You can hear the refs rise as they run over the grass. And now we come into the left-right again for the last time. And Holland not quite close enough.
So then, the last half a lap or so between all of these guys, you can just see in the forefront of his shot there, Cody Nikolakowski increasing that advantage now, 11.4 seconds. It sits. What an impressive drive this has been, to the surprise of nobody at all. But all eyes very much on Holland and Lindgren then to see whether they can squabble for position, to see whether they can do anything. Everything else looking pretty stagnant up and down the field. But I think Holland's just a little too late here for this battle to continue on between himself and Lindgren. I think Lindgren's just a little bit too far away.
Yeah, I think that's it now. I think really the battle for second is the last one we have on the track, and I think Holland has just burned his tyres up a little bit. McEwen there looking not really that, not looking to be in any sort of rush. I think he knows he's got the gap. We come now down to the chicane for the last time. I think now that Lakowski is now coming around the final corner. Hugely
impressive drive once again for Cody Nikolakowski. A perfect strategy executed brilliantly. Cody Nikolakowski takes the win in the Nations Cup Oceania race for the top 16 superstars. Matt McEwen is going to hold off the charge and finish in second position. A great drive from him, soaking up the pressure. Likewise from Dan Holland as well, really doing a great job to keep Lindgren at bay in the closing stages of that one. Emily Jones comes home a well-deserved P5 ahead of Andrew Lee. John Stankowski in P7, great drive from him, and also Gopi Mahindajit down in 8th position. That's an impressive finish for him, given that he qualified in P10. Voon comes home 9th, Kanda in 10th, and the rest of the drivers coming over the timing line now. But again, we always seem to wax lyrical about this man, Cody Nikolakowski, but when he puts in more performances like that, you can't help but do so, can you?
Man's out here just wrecking the field.
Making it look easy.
Every week, mate. And that's, if you do that, you know, you're going to start getting attention, as Cody has. And this is a spec car, spec tyre, pretty much same strategy as the three guys behind him. And 11 seconds with him and McEwen. I think that speaks volumes.
Final results you can see on your screen. Cody Lakowski takes the win ahead of Matt McEwen and Dan Holland in 3rd place. Dan Lindgren in 4th. Emily Jones, Lee Stankowski and Gopi Mahindajit down there in 8th position. You can see at top of your screen, Cody Lakowski, purple lap on there. The fastest lap in the race, a 1:50.233. That's 0.7 of a second quicker than the man who finished in 2nd place of Matt McEwen. Voon in 9th, Kanda in 10th, Allen 11th, Little, Fowles, Knowles, Leith and Edwards down there in 16th position. So those are your finishers in the Nations Cup race. Let's see what it means then for the standings. So after the 16th round, we can see that Cody Lakowski still sits on the top of the pile, 1,463 points. Matt McEwen, though, very close behind there. And also in the rest of the top 5 down to really the end of the top 10. It's not too far adrift for these guys here, Jimmy.
Not really, as is. You know, a couple of guys who didn't show up today. Of course, Cy Bishop, who he was absent. He would have lost a couple of places because of that as well. Tell you what, Emily Jones, I'm in 4th place. You know, it's great to see her doing so well there, considering last season she wasn't here at all. So from nowhere to 4th, not bad, eh?
Very consistent results she's had over the course of this year, and that is a testament to her as well. So hugely impressive stuff there for Emily Jones. You can see the other competitors there. Jonathan Stankowski in 12th position, a very promising finish for him there inside the top 10. That will have helped his charge up the standings. Anyway, so that's how it sits in the Nations Cup for the Oceania region. Let's get ready, shall we, and go racing in the Manufacturers Series in just a couple. So that was a look at the Gran Turismo 7 menus and interface. This is a look at it in-game. And, well, Jimmy, the first thing we need to talk about, Trial Mountain is back. Thank heavens.
It is, yeah. Oh my, I always cringe watching this game, but this driver's crazy, man.
Isn't it? It must be.
Yeah, they've got the same sort of skill set. But I tell you what, I got a lot of time for that menu, the old-style GT menus coming back in. There's a brilliant new setting here at Trial Mountain. Great to see it kind of be revisited finally.
Yeah, hugely exciting stuff. I love this tunnel section coming out, bursting into the line. It's just such a cool track. It's been slightly remodelled as well for GT7, and you can see you can still make those big old yeets up the inside, such as that Mazda is. And this, of course, is the RX Vision Gran Turismo car as well. The brand new Group 3 car, which has come to GT Sport, is going to be coming to 7. The sound of that rotary engine whirring away is a noise to behold.
Yeah, following that 917K as well. Beautiful old car, of course, steeped in history. And yeah, I can't wait, like all you guys at home, to get my hands on this.
So now our focus shifts over to the Manufacturer Series for round 16 of the top 16 superstars in the Oceania region. The Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps is the venue, a track that really needs no introduction. Group 4 cars, though, available for these drivers. And interestingly, for the first time this year, in fact, I believe, we've only got one compound of tyres. So I wonder whether we're going to get no stops in this race, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's kind of a new thing for us, isn't it? We're used to seeing kind of mandatory pit stops come into play, but at this rate, it could just be go round until the end of the race. Group 4 cars too, which recently rebalanced, I've heard, to make the racing a little bit closer, which means better viewing for us.
Well, all the drivers have qualified. Let's see where they line up on the grid. So here then is how our drivers line up ahead of the Manufacturer Series race in the Oceania region. Group 4 cars, to remind you, here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps on pole position is McDonald. Keep an eye out for him in the BMW M4 from that front of the grid. Adam Wilk alongside him. What is he going to be able to do? Heading the second row is Wong, Chek Fung Wong in the Mazda. The Lamborghini Huracan is driven by Dan Holland. He lines up in 4th position. P5 on the grid, Matt McEwen in the Alfa Romeo 4C. Pretty quick in Group 4 trim, actually. You can see that with that qualifying result. Cody Nikola Lakowski for Mercedes-Benz. How is the SLS in Group 4 trim going to fare? What about Goping Mahindajit down in 7th position in the Nissan GTR? Alongside him is Andrew Lee in P8 in the Subaru WRX. 9th position on the grid, Emily Jones in the Audi TT. Front-wheel drive that car, of course, to remind you. And in P10 is Connor Healy in the Honda NSX. Jonathan Stankowski lines up in P11 in the Volkswagen Scirocco, also a front-wheel drive car, with Tame in 12th position in the Renault Megane. 13th position on the grid is Fowles in the Mazda Atenza Group 4 car. Towards the back of the grid, P14 is McIver in the BMW M4. Difficult qualifying there for him, clearly. 15th position is Knowles in the Porsche Cayman GT4. And 16th and last on the grid is Allen in the Alfa Romeo 4C. So our first look then, Jimmy, of course, at all of these cars lined up on the grid. No tyre strategies, of course, here, because we've got just one compound. It's the hard tyre.
Yeah, so essentially a race to the end. I don't think there's going to be a fuel stop during this race. So a straight race for 10 laps around Spa. None of that strategy, none of the different tyres, no people at different speeds. It's the first time we've seen this for, I don't know how long it's been, Tom. It's been a very long time, so I'm kind of interested to see what happens, really. I think it's either going to be really good or really bad. I'm hoping it's the former. But anyway, McDonald will lead the field in the M4. I've got to say, I really like the look of that Alfa that Alan's driving right at the back of the field. That black livery, that's mean. Let's hope it actually gives him some speed here, although it looks like not too great so far, considering he's starting last.
Well, things can change. Let's wait and see what happens. Keegan McDonald lines up at the front of the grid, as you can see, just weeding his tyres to get some heat into them. Adam Wilk in 2nd position. Of course, these Group 4 cars, not as much downforce as their Group 3 counterparts, so there should, in theory, be a little bit less dirty air and therefore a little bit less downforce loss. So it should be quite close racing, in theory. We'll find out what that's going to be like putting into action, though. 10 laps of Spa-Francorchamps for the Oceania Region Manufacturer Series race for round 16 of the top 16 superstars is underway. Keegan McDonald leads the field over the timing line as the drivers weave to try and get some heat into their tyres as they head down in towards La Source for the first time. So McDonald leads the way from Wilk, from Wong. Then comes Dan Holland in 4th position in that Lamborghini, which we know is very quick in Group 4 trim, but running wide out on the source there for Holland will not help his charge coming down the hill as they head up in towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time of asking. On board we are here with McDonald's, up the hill we go. Everybody taking it very cleanly there. You can see the top four already having quite a bit of a pronounced gap there to Matt McEwen in P5 here, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's just the way the rolling start works here at Spa. Is a lot of people are still going through the last chicane when the green flag drops, so the guys who start at the front really get a big advantage. It's a reason to qualify high here, so to speak. And here is McDonald going down the straight. First time then into Lake Com. We've just come up the Kemmel Straight. Wong there in contention as well in the Mazda. I actually drove a lap here of a circuit earlier on in the Mazda and didn't do too well. Look at that in the background. Holland sives by him. Didn't let him through there. It really looked like he didn't fight that too much. Almost gave him the line. Either that or Wong has made a mistake coming into the second part of Lake Com there. But coming down to Rivage, Holland's up to third place in the Lamborghini Huracan. And now he's going to try and chase down Wilk and McDonald in front. Behind them, McEwen and Matkowski in 5th and 6th position. They are fighting at the moment. We're on board with Wong though as we go down towards Puon. 125, 130 mile an hour on entry. You see the goal is trying to hook the car on the inside. These curbs on the right here actually have very little grip, so you want to try and avoid touching those as much as you can on exit, otherwise you're going to get dragged out onto the horrible stuff.
Well, a promising opening lap from these drivers here. Here you can see Lee all over the back of Mahindajit then, so Subaru versus Nissan in reverse order. You can see Lee definitely looking like the quicker of the two drivers as they go through the Fania chicane in towards Stavelo 1 and then Stavelo 2, now riding on board with the bumper of Andrew Lee, and this is really good to see him battling inside the top 10. If he gets a good run coming out of Stavelo 2, this could be the opportunity he needs to try and attack the Nissan GTR driver. He's got the advantage of the slipstream, which of course is very important in these Group 4 cars. Coming down now through in towards Blanchimont, Emily Jones ready to take advantage in the background there as well as they come through Blanchimont then. So, is Lee going to be able to do anything? Is Mahindajit going to try and defend? You can guarantee he's probably going to try to, but keep an eye out for Jones there as well. I think there's a penalty being given here for Lee for track limits. There is indeed, but Jones is scything out the outside there of Lee, but not quite able to find her way past. So it's getting very aggressive here in the closing bits of the top 10. And you can see Mahindajit there, just got a bit too much curve, a bit sideways, and then he went into the side of Lee coming out of the bus stop chicane there. Now they're going side by side, and another penalty being given there for Lee. 1.5 seconds that now sits at, so he's going to be a sitting duck coming onto the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, I think he just kind of got a bit frustrated at his first penalty and then got a bit over-aggressive there with Mahindajit in front, and as a result now has 1.5 seconds, which is a big blow to his race, and that'll allow Emily to get by behind. Meanwhile, here's Cody fighting with the Alpha of McEwen in front, and we've got the big slipstream here coming up the Kemmel Straight. V8 howling away at the front of this thing. Goodbye, Mr. McEwen. Little Alpha, in comparison to the SLS, is just nothing. Through he goes, and up into 5th position. And we've seen Mercedes, I think, Tom, kind of struggle a bit in the Manufacturer Series this year. We know how fast Cody is, but he's never really able to get this car towards the top of the field, and when he does, it's on strategy. But this time it's going to be a straight race, given there's not really any strategy here.
Adam Wilk now out in front in this race as well here, Jimmy, in the Ford Mustang. So that is a very promising opening lap here then for Adam Wilk, running on board here with Keegan McDonald, who's going to try and do everything he can, I am sure, to find his way back through against his fellow countrymen. Down in towards Puon we go. You can see the gap that they've built out to Dan Holland now sits at 1.1 seconds. So despite that promising opening lap there for Dan Holland, getting ahead of Wong for 3rd position, he's not been able to bridge that gap down to 2nd place at the moment of Keegan McDonald, who we're looking at still battling here for this race lead. Just to give you an idea of lap times, on that first lap, of course, it was a rolling start. 2:33 was Keegan McDonald, the fastest man over the line, but now he is really trying to find his way through against Adam Wilk. Coming through into Stavelo then, this will be a good opportunity for him to try and find his way past. The slipstream, I think, is going to be very crucial in this race.
Yeah, great to also to see so many different manufacturers, of course, fighting together here. I think pretty much a different manufacturer in every spot down to Mazda. All different manufacturers up to there, which is crazy. So 12 in the top 12, so to speak. Here is Wilk looking back from McDonald, and the slipstream, as you say, Tom, plays a big role around here, especially in these long straights coming up towards the bus stop now. And you see how much closer Holland's got behind. Seems like Lamborghini is a bit of a weapon in the straight line around here, and definitely showing its speed. Wilk, Donald, Holland, Wong there in your picture as we come on to lap 3, and Wilk managing to pull away a little bit, and Holland still getting ever closer. So it looks like we're going to start having a freeway scrap for the lead here if Holland can just close that gap a bit more.
Well, let's see what happens here. Riding on board with Dan Holland in the Lamborghini, coming down the hill as they get ready to go into Oceania Region then for the third time. This is going to be quite the exciting race. Fastest lap, by the way, last time around. Surprised of nobody at all. Only Nikola Laskovski in the Mercedes-Benz. He's now in 5th position, 0.8 of a second behind Wong in 4th place. Is he going to be the man on the move who's going to try and upset the apple cart and challenge for this lead of the race in the closing stages? He's going to have a hard task to do it. Here comes Kiki McDonald pulling out of the slipstream, though, of Adam Wilk in towards Lay Coombe. Side by side we go. On the inside there for McDonald, but Wilk holds the line, holds firm into the left-hander, and crucially holds on to the race lead here.
How much do you want to fight at this point? That's the question. We're on lap 3 now. 10-lap race, long boy race. Well, for these cars anyway, especially around Spa. It's a pretty long lap around here, about 226, 227, something like that. Around here, maybe a bit longer in the hard compounded tyre. Looking like positioning is going to be important. We're playing our favourite high-speed game of chess around here, where the guys are so competitive around here. They kind of stay with each other in the medium sectors, and then as soon as we get to the fast stuff, it's just a drafting battle. So it's about positioning, and in the background there, so Cody's close as well. So right now, top 6 drivers or so, though they are all within contention at this point.
Well, if we look back to the race we just saw a few moments ago, Jimmy, with the Nations Cup, and we compare it to this race here in the Manufacturer Series, why is the racing that much more closer for those who perhaps are not so familiar with what we do here on GT?
Probably around here, probably because of the type of car for a start, and also we have no strategy right now, so everyone's just going full beans straight away. With the Zondas, quite a bit of downforce in those cars. The dirty air exists, and these not quite so much. You can run closely like this, coming through the fast corners, and not really suffer for it. This is a great camera here on board of the BMW M4. Practically right on the rear bumper of Wilk in front. Now, do we have the run to get by? Will Wilk stick to the inside? He will. He's going to very slowly come over to the left-hand side there. That's a good way of defending at the last second. McDonald dives to the inside. He's probably not going to find a way through there. He'll be on the outside now, coming for the second part of the chicane. And that, again, is going to allow Dan Holland to get even closer. That McDonald has had a good run there, so he might have another go coming into the source.
There comes Laskovski as well, on the back of Wong, running side by side down the start-finish straight, heading in towards the first corner then. Laskovski on the outside, Wong in the Mazda on the inside, and he's not been able to find his way through that first turn there, sadly. But now the run up through the rise is going to be quite interesting there. Still very close here is Cody Laskovski. You can see him trying to find his way through against Wong. Up through Oceania Region we go once more, and on to the straight then, the Kemmel straight. So is Laskovski going to be able to do anything, or are the legs of the Mazda with the advance of the slipstream in front going to be a bit too hard of a task for him to answer at the moment? Down this straight we go. You can see in the foreground of your shot McDonald and Wilk as well as Holland all ready to do battle, and all the while they're squabbling, it's allowing these drivers to just close up ever so slightly, and they're coming into play. It's going from a 3-way to nearly a 5-way scrap for this lead.
There you go, and things really now hotting up at the front. McDonald is really applying the pressure. I think he's keen to get by. He knows that Holland's there in the background as well. Doesn't really want to be dealing with 2 cars at once, rather deal with just one. So he's trying to force a move on Wilk in that Ford, and at the moment not really anywhere to go. They're almost a match through the middle sector. You can see the mirror just about on the left-hand side of the screen. Dan Holland there in that deep blue Lamborghini as we come through Puan again. You see top 5 cars, top 6 cars, all within your shot at the moment. So one mistake from anyone here is going to cost them an absolute ton of positions, I can tell you that now. And McDonald still having a look at Wilk. Will he have a look at the inside of the Fanion chicane? No, he won't. Not really a place to overtake them unless you're very, very close. And speaking of very close, you can almost reach out and touch the back of that rear spoiler if you're McDonald right now. Coming in now to the last sector, Stavelot 1 and 2. The exit out of Stavelot 2 is very important for your drive up the hill towards Blanchimont. So if McDonald can get a good run out of there, he might be able to challenge into the bus stop. Let's see. Very
close between these top 5. Get yourself down to Dunale Mill, buy a blanket. You can throw it over these top 5 at the moment in this race. It's hugely exciting between all of these guys. You can see McDonald there in the background, ready to try, or in the foreground I should say rather, ready to try and attack once more between them. Through into Blanchimont we go once again. Still looking very quick is Cody Laskovski, who is still battling with Wong once again. Here comes Wilk though, defending from McDonald once more. Here comes Laskovski in the background, going up the inside of Wong into the bus stop chicane. Is he able to find his way through? He's got a great run through the first part and gets 4th place ahead of Wong then. So hugely impressive driving once more, and now Wong is going to lose out to Matt McEwen here as well. So the Mazda going from P4 5 down into P6, nearly, but does able to hold off the charge. But McEwen darts late under the brakes into Lassource. Is he going to make that stick? Not quite on corner exit. The Mazda of Wong holds on and lives to fight another day.
So that Wong really gave a lot more room than he had to there. I think you could have quite easily kept that place from Cody, but kind of just rolled over and let it happen. So maybe Wong struggling a little bit in that Mazda at the moment, which means that the fight of the front goes from 6 cars down to 4 temporarily, of course. I'm sure these guys will band back up again with the slipstream on board there, the Alpha 4C, and now back to the head of the field with Wilk and that Ford. And Adam Wilk and the Ford have been a fantastic combination this Manufacturers Series. They've been together for quite a long time now, and Adam really seems to know how to just drag the most out of the pony as we come now down the hill towards Rivage once more. McDonald's kind of been thinking about making a move into their last few laps. The thing is, you make a move there, you get it wrong, you end up understeering into the car in front, and that could lead to a penalty. So there's a kind of air of caution from the guys there, but this is the sort of racing that I think we've been missing out a little bit in these series. This decision to only go with the hard compounded tyre has really been a good one, because it means these guys have been just glued to each other since the start of the race, and of course it means anyone's game, and it's I'm looking forward to what is going to be quite an unpredictable finish. Well,
we were talking before the start of this one about whether it's going to be a one-stopper or a no-stopper. I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be a no-stopper now, given the rate of pace of the drivers in this one. They'll probably just be battling like this until the checkered flag, and bring it on, I say. I tell you, somebody who'll be kicking herself at the moment, though, is Emily Jones in the Audi TT down in 7th place. She had a couple of penalties at the start of this one, lost 1.5 seconds as a result of that, I believe. It's now down in 7th position, 4.3 seconds off the back of this. If she hadn't done that, or hadn't gotten those penalties for one reason or another, she may have been potentially involved in this scrap for the lead.
I'm fairly sure she's a collector at this point. The amount of penalties she picks up, bless her. I mean, it needs to, I think, again, iron out those mistakes. Really easy to get that though around here. Super easy to do that, even for someone as skilled as Emily Jones. On board with Cody again. His front pack are just relentless. Dan Holland now fancies to go at both of them. He looks up the inside. I think he might have McDonald. And he's got Wilk too. Oh, there's contact between Holland and Wilk. He's gone in far too deep. And there's contact again with McDonald on exit. And a penalty for Holland. And deservedly so there. He sent that in from a different postcode. And unsurprisingly, could not get it stopped. The brakes on that Lamborghini are good, but they aren't that good. And Wilk and McDonald got a bit of head and shoulder from Holland there. And he's now going to have a penalty, which probably put him behind this little squabble here, but big mistake there from Holland. Just got a little bit too enthusiastic, I think.
You're absolutely right there, Jimmy, and I have to say it is going to cost him very dear indeed. He needs that penalty like a handbrake is needed on a canoe, because he is going to lose a significant amount of time here, and probably drop right to the back of this one, because you don't only lose a second, you lose the time as a result of the loss in speed on this straight as well. So Dan Holland ready to serve that penalty here on this Kemmel straight, and through will go Keegan McDonald, Adam Wilk, Cody Lakowski, and presumably Matt McEwen there as well. Oh, there's contact on the straight as he comes back into vision, and it has ruined Dan Holland's race. So Holland into the barrier, out of contention in this race. He somehow managed to keep going, but the car very battle scarred. A further penalty as a result of that one, and he is going to be now out of contention for battling in this race lead. That has destroyed his afternoon here at Spa.
I mean, bless him, he'll be annoyed with that, man. He'll be annoyed with that. But the thing is, if you're ghosting like that, and you know you're going to come back into reality, so to speak, you don't do it on the racing line. Get off the racing line, because that is a danger of that happening. And I don't know, it's one of those things that it comes with a territory of ghosting people with a penalty. But of course, Dan Holland is the one that suffers here. As punts go, I think that was a pretty impressive one.
Well, there we go. Dan Holland, what can you say? 2-second penalty there for him. This has just broken up the pack for the race lead now. Keegan McDonald still sits in the lead of the race, but 1.3 seconds now the advantage he has over, surprise, surprise, Cody Nikola Lakowski, in continuing his impressive run here in Group 4 machinery. As you said, Jimmy, these cars have been balanced a little bit more, so I wonder whether a few changes, alterations have been made to this Mercedes SLS and just brought it back a bit more into contention, because Lakowski is doing a good job behind the wheel of that Group 4 car here, which we haven't seen so far in this guys. In Group 3 trim it's not too bad, but in Group 4 machinery it's kind of nowhere really.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not as if he's kind of got in the car and just driven through the field. It's been a hard fight to get there, so it's good to see it kind of more in line with the other cars, of course, and let's see what he can do from here. I mean, the fight is by no means over yet. We still have 4 cars, I think, potentially within a way to win this, so to speak. We're on board with one of them now, SLS AMG. Quite an old car this by today's standards. This is a car from the late 2000s, this SLS AMG, and interesting to see it up against a kind of modern M4 and a modern Mustang. You know, that's a great thing about GT4. There's so many different types of cars in here, different drivetrains as well. But I must say, all the best drivetrains right now, the top 4, all front engine rear wheel drives.
Fastest lap last time around, Cody Lukovski 2:28 flat. That was 6 tenths per second quicker than your man who's leading the race of Keegan McDonald, and this is going to be the opportunity here for Lukovski to attack. Coming down the Kemmel Straight then, McDonald parks his car towards the inside. He's going to force Lukovski to go to the outside, and he's going to try and squeeze him under braking here towards the outer side of the track. Lukovski, sensible though, he's wise to that. He's not allowed McDonald to have too much of an advantage as a result of that squeeze there, and he is still very much on the rear wing of the BMW drivers, and this is what Lukovski is really good at doing. Once he's got the carrot dangled in front of him, he's just able to close up on the back of these guys and just sit with them, sit there ready to pounce, ready to strike when he is able to do so, when he wants to do so more than anything. And that's exactly what he's doing. We're on lap 7 out of 10. There's still plenty of opportunity for things to change in this race. And, well, we saw last time around with Dan Holland just how quickly things can change. So it's not guaranteed yet whether Lukovski will take the lead and romp away, but it is likely that he will try and challenge before too long.
I've always noticed with Cody that even if he thinks he can't make the pass, he'll still pull alongside just to be like, hey, look, I'm here. We're having this fight now. And the only thing I think is just to try and force the guy in front into a mistake. Just try and maybe make him take a different line that he's not quite used to. And when you do that, sometimes you get caught off guard. Sometimes you maybe snag a brake or something and lock up, or you get on the throttle a bit too early on the exit, and that can slow you down. And Cody's the master of just forcing people into those situations. Let's see how McDonald, he's dealt with it really well so far. McDonald, it's been a fantastic drive from the BMW driver at the moment. Let's see if he can keep it going. But you can see up the hill, the draft the AMG gets up the hill. This SLS is just drives right up to the back of the Bimmer. You might have a go up here into the bus stop and see what happens. No, both at the brakes. McDonald there, a little bit of a wiggle on the brakes, feeling the pressure a little bit is McDonald. Let's see if he can keep Cody there for what will be 3 more laps at the line.
Well, we alluded to the incredible stats of Cody Lukovski last time around. 151 races Keegan McDonald has competed in. He's had a top 5 finish in 132 of them. He's had 72 wins there as well. So he is a driver who should also be held in very high esteem, despite fewer number of races. Coming down the hill we go then. On lap 8, look at Dan Holland trying to scythe his way back through the field. He was on the inside there of Gopi Mahinderjit coming through into last source. That was Lamborghini versus Nissan. Lamborghini is now ahead of Nissan for P6, and Keegan McDonald is still on the back foot once again. Cody Lukovski with a great run coming up through the top of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight we go once more, and it's a better run. It's great speed there for Lukovski. He pulls alongside Keegan McDonald. Side by side we come in the Oceania Manufacturers Series race, and surely Lukovski is going to take the lead away as we go under braking. He moves over, parks his car on the apex on the inside there. McDonald's got nowhere to try and retaliate there. Very aggressive driving clearly from Lukovski. He takes the lead away, and now McDonald is going to have to watch his mirrors, because he's got a mirror full of this man here, Adam Wilk, in his Ford Mustang. Down in towards Rivage we go. It's getting very exciting. This is where we're going to start seeing the elbows come out in the closing stages in the last few laps of this race. It's anybody's guess as to who is going to be taking the checkered flag at this stage, though.
That was a beautiful move, that was. Just really aware, both drivers aware of the space around them, and that's, you always say if you're being overtaken, the other driver has to sort of let it happen. And I think Keelan did that in the best way possible. Tried to hold him, just couldn't quite keep him there, but really fought until the end. And I have no doubt that when we come back up towards Blanchimont, coming out of Stavler, this last sector here, we'll see Keelan maybe try a reverse move coming up towards the bus stop. Meanwhile, look what the fighting has done. We now have 4 cars, all within a second of each other, all within a shout of winning this race, and one of them is an Alfa Romeo. Great to see McEwen drag that Alfa Romeo, and we know the Alfa historically has been a car that isn't too quick in a straight line, but is holding on well around here, around Spa. Spa is definitely a circuit where having power is going to help you out, and that Alfa hanging on valiantly. So here we are then, looking back from the rear wing of the SLS AMG, Cody Lukovski. There is Keegan McDonald behind, Adam Wilder, Matt McEwen behind us. Looks like this SLS is pretty quick in a straight line, because that BMW isn't really getting much closer. What can Keelan do on the brakes? Very, very late on the brakes. See the rear end wiggling, and he just tries to get that thing slowed down. It's coming now out of the bus stop again. And this is going to go down to a wire. We've got a very, very long drafting zone coming up, pretty much the source up towards Lake Com. That's all one big flat out section, even though Rouge is flat in these cars, even with the hard compounded tyre and the wear. So let's see what happens here. McDonald again closer. BMW versus Mercedes versus Ford versus Alfa Romeo.
4 different manufacturers battling for the top 4 positions then. Riding on board here with McDonald. Keep an eye out for his mirrors though, because you can guarantee that Wilk is going to try and attack. He's not close enough to launch anything at the moment on Lukowski is McDonald, and he's going to have to defend once more coming down this Camel Straight then against Adam Wilk. Is the Mustang going to pounce coming in towards Lake Coombe then? Good advantage in the slipstream, but of course in front McDonald also has a slipstream there as well, so not quite close enough there for Wilk to try and attack. A bit wide coming into the first part of Lake Coombe for McDonald there. Is that going to compromise his run coming through turn 7 and ready to head down into turn 8? Bit wide coming out of turn 7 there as well. So McDonald looking a bit scrappy here, I think it's fair to say, on this penultimate lap, and the door is opened once again at Rivage here for Wilk. So just a couple of small errors there has cost McDonald, and it could cost him a position here. On the inside they go into Wicks. Is he going to go try and hold it the long way around the outside there for Wilk? They run side by side on the exit. Here comes Matt McEwen ready to come through. Side by side we go with McEwen on the inside down in towards Pouon. He goes for the move. He gets the position, and that is brilliant from McEwen and Wilk. They gain positions as McDonald slips off the podium for the first time in this race.
One mistake there from McDonald going right wide at Rivage. That's all that was needed for Wilk and McEwen to make the best of it. Great move by Wilk there. That was amazing. You don't see anyone pass there normally, let alone around the outside. And McEwen there using that agility of the Alfa Romeo just to sneak by 2. He might struggle to hold the place coming up the straight here, but that means that Wilk now is second place, but that has given a little bit of breathing room to Cody, who's now 1.5 seconds up the road. Let's see now what this Alfa has in a straight line behind the Ford, and it seems now just starting to fall away already. It's trying its best. Look at it, it's so small to compare to the Ford Mustang here, but it just can't quite keep with it. But then through the corners, look at it, it's absolutely glued to the floor. Maybe we'll see it make a move up into the chicane here. Of course McEwen piloting it. Will he look around the outside? No. Wilk will keep the place for now, and it will keep second place as we come on to the last lap of the race.
So then, ready to go. Who is going to be battling for the podium? Is Lukowski. Has he got enough of an advantage over the likes of these guys who are squabbling amongst one another? I think he might do. 1.6 seconds it sits as we start this last lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. A lunge down the inside then for Keenan McDonald on the brakes into La Source. He makes the move, but he runs it wide on the exit. Side by side we come now. Alfa Romeo versus BMW down the hill, heading in towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the final time of asking then. It's the Alfa Romeo who's just got a nose ahead and holds on to third position despite that aggressive bit of driving there from Keenan McDonald. But is it going to be a different story at the end of this Camel Straight? We're about to find out. Here we go then with the slipstream advantage here for Keenan McDonald. He's really close to the back of this Alfa Romeo 4C. Is he going to pull to the inside? You can guarantee he's going to try to. McEwen is defenceless in his answer in retaliation to this. On the brakes we go. BMW on the inside, and he's through into third place.
Yeah, for now, of course, we know that the Alfa's really, really quick through the middle sector, and McDonald's just running a little bit ragged in that BMW, so he's got to get these next few corners perfect if he doesn't want to have McEwen come back at him. McEwen's got so much more speed at the moment. He's even trying around the outside of Rivage. Not going to quite make that work, mate. The tyres aren't that good, but he has got that corner exit speed. If he can really focus that coming down towards Pouon, you might be able to have a chance. No, not quite. McDonald has the run here, and Wilk is still there. Wilk is still only half a second ahead of these guys despite these two fighting. So Wilk struggling too, I think, on these tyres that are now starting to get quite warm. 4 times tyre wear around here, so it's like driving 40 laps of Spa on these tyres. They're going to be almost on the rim by this point, and McEwen is all over the back of McDonald coming into the Fagnes chicane. Again, looking around the long way round. He's not going to find any space there, of course. McDonald defending well, just keeping to his line, and we're now running out of opportunities for McEwen to make a move.
Did you see him locking up the rear under braking in towards that Fagnes chicane? That was pretty close, wasn't it? So it is all going to be about the bus stop chicane then here for these guys, and who is going to sit on the final position on the podium. I think Wilk is going to have just enough of an advantage to not get involved in this fight, as is Lukowski, who's 2.1 seconds up the road, but McDonald is going to have to drive the defence of his life to hold off the charge of Matt McEwen. But McEwen's got to get him out of straight line speed, doesn't have the opportunity to find his way past. He's just not close enough. That might be helping the advantage of the slipstream that McDonald has with Wilk's car in front, but there can be no credit taken away from this man here of Cody Nikola Lukowski. Very close for the podium, but it's going to sit as it is, I think, and out of the final corner and over the line. Lukowski takes takes the win in the Manufacturer Series. It's a drag to the line for third place, but Keenan McDonald does just hold off the charge of Matt McEwen right at the very end of that one. Adam Wilk takes second for Ford there as Dan Holland comes home fifth place. Damage limitation there for him, but what a thrilling end to that one. And look at the battle for 10th place, a drag to the line between Lee and Stankowski, with the Subaru just getting ahead, and the same for Healy and Tame there as well. Wow, very close between those guys, and Healy taking 11th ahead of the Renault driver in P12. But a thrilling race there in the Manufacturer Series, and another win to add to the tally for Cody Lakowski.
Win number, I don't know, 400 and something like that now. I mean, you'll probably know, Tommy got the stats over there, but it's somewhere in that region. And that was just a very, very smart race from Cody. Not necessarily the biggest fighter out there in terms of scrapping with other drivers, but just put his car in the right place at the right time. And it's so often the story ends up on that top step of the podium. I've got to say, I really, really enjoy watching that difference there between McEwen and McDonald in the BMW. The cars were couldn't be more different, but that close on track at the end of the race. Great racing, and dare I say it, that this no-stop race was probably more entertaining than some of the strategies we've seen so far over the course of these events.
Well, just as we get our breath back, let's take a look, shall we, at the championship standings.
So get a load of this, guys. Win number 420 for Cody Lakowski, cements his place at the top of the standings. Good showing there for Wilk and McDonald too, just securing their positions on the second and third step of the points ranking. Also a strong showing there from Matt McEwen in the Alpha, moves him up into 8th position. Not bad going at all there. Matt Simmons and Emily Jones very close just in that as well. 7 points separating those guys for 6th and 7th position. You can see a little bit further down the order. 3 drivers very close on points as well. Connor Noble, Thoborn and Lee in 14th and 16th, 15th and 16th position respectively. Just 2 points separating those drivers. So then, that does bring an end to the top 16 superstars for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. From Jimmy Broadbent and from myself, Tom Brooks, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We'll be back with more racing action on GT Sport on the 5th of July for round 20 of the FIA GT Championships. In the meantime, stay safe and we'll see you soon.